Hello, welcome back to the Talking Baws podcast. I say welcome back after a long summer off. Here we are, back for another campaign.
Delighted.
As is the kind of modern way, before we get stuck into the football that's kind of taking place, or the transfers, or the wheelings and dealings, it's very important to shine a little light on some of our sponsors.
You've just reminded me that we should probably say to anyone that's listening to this right now, this intro is going to be on the start of the podcast for maybe the next couple of weeks, couple of months maybe even. So for anyone that's listening, aka Daniel's dad, who that's maybe confusing it as being the same podcast over and over, it's not. This intro will finish in a minute or two, and then we'll get stuck into the latest stuff so that you're right up to date. So no one panic.
Absolutely.
Don't get the wrong one.
So as we always say, the Talking Baws podcast brought to you by Ladbrokes, but we also have a couple of other key supporters that we should maybe mention.
Well, Ladbrokes are probably the biggest one first. It's great that we've got them back on for the 2018-19 season. SPFL sponsors continuing to kind of do a brilliant job of sponsoring all four leagues, and we're obviously delighted to have them on board. So we'll look to sprinkle in some odds throughout the season, and just look to point you in the right direction when it comes to betting. So if you're going to be betting with or betting on Scottish football this season, why not bet with Ladbrokes?
Make it Ladbrokes.
Why not bet with our friends? We're also sponsored by Black Rooster Peri Peri. We've got multiple shops now in Glasgow and the surrounding areas. We've got two in Glasgow, sorry, we've got one in Paisley. They're opening one up in somewhere else. We'll put them at the bottom of the podcast, but they've got 3 or 4 now. It's more than they've been opened than what was initially opened when we first started being sponsored on the podcast. So if you're a big eater like I am, and you're kind of not, although you do like eating nonsense, Daniel, they are the place to go if you want to get any tasty chicken in Glasgow, and then wider around Scotland over the next year, I'd imagine, as well.
Absolutely. Anything else that we should maybe mention before we start?
If there's any other podcast sponsors out there that are interested in tying up with the one of the, would you call us one of the best Scottish football podcasts out there?
I would say the best.
Well, the best Scottish football podcast, then you can get in touch, but thanks to the sponsors that we've got at the moment.
Absolutely. And now let's get running with the show. Welcome to the Talking Baws podcast, brought to you by Ladbrokes. Here we are. I should welcome our... I always wonder when we have Michael on the show how we how we refer to his title. What was it again? Chief Technical Officer at Talking Baws.
It's definitely not as exciting as it should be, because we need to give him a more of a football title.
Nield the Celtic fan.
Chief shite talker. What would you rather be called, Nield?
I'm happy with that.
I think that's most accurate. Right, best place to start, obviously, at the weekend's games. I think Fir Park, Motherwell Rangers, absolute cracker. Game of the season so far, definitely. I'll start with you then, Johnny. Off air, Nield and I were talking about how it was the first time Rangers really looked kind of uncomfortable, and kind of, Steven Gerrard said it himself, it was the first bump in the road. Mm-hmm. It was kind of interesting to see how Motherwell got under the skin.
It is. I'm not reading that much into it, to be honest with you. The same way I wouldn't have read too much into Celtic's early season form, because that's the comparison we're going to make in this podcast, obviously, because they play at the weekend. They are the two big teams in the title race, you would think. But I suppose the only thing it showed us is just how you could potentially get at this Steven Gerrard Rangers. And he said before the game that if Motherwell are going to come looking for a fight, then, or will not come looking for a fight, if we're going to go there and they'll look to bring the fight, then we're going to be able to stand up to it and we're going to be able to match it. And I don't really know if Rangers were able to match it. They did draw 3 each, I suppose, and I think that probably has more to do with the quality that Rangers had in their team rather than being able to match Motherwell's physicality, because I thought, particularly in the last half an hour, 20 minutes, that Rangers really buckled. Brilliant finishes, well, tell a lie, I thought the second finish was brilliant for Lafferty. Got a bit of luck on the first, but I thought a couple of defenders that had started the season really well, and particularly Tavernier and Connor Goldson, I thought got a bit of the runaround off the Motherwell strikers and just looked like they couldn't cope. And that's the way Motherwell have been. I can't imagine that Steven Gerrard's went in that game expecting anything other than Motherwell to go back to front and look to cause loads of problems with their physicality up front. But it will be interesting to see, based on that game for Rangers at the weekend and then what we've seen from Celtic at points this season, which team's going to be able to better take advantage of the problems that each team's got, if that makes sense. So Celtic, a little bit of problems at the heart of defence, depending obviously if Boyata plays, and particularly seem to have a problem at the moment breaking teams down at Celtic Park. And then Rangers, based on that game, the physicality, will Rodgers look to try and take advantage of that, will Gerrard look to take advantage of Celtic's problems at centre half. I think either way, both teams' defences have got a lot to answer at the weekend.
Jonny mentions Connor Goldson there, Neil, that I thought it was really surprising how kind of, I don't want to say how bad he looked, but just how kind of unsure of himself, almost kind of nervous. I thought up to that game that he'd looked like a brilliant signing, but just in time for the Old Firm game, he just drops a performance like that will probably have Rangers fans a bit nervous.
I think it's the first game I've really watched Rangers like from start to finish, and it's the first time I think he's been up against a kind of physical centre forward line, and he doesn't look the biggest. He looks like he's good in the ball, tidy, he can get nice passes and stuff, but I think it doesn't look physically imposing, and I definitely think that'll be a part of the game that Celtic will be looking to exploit,
especially if Dembele gets a.
Well, Edouard's back in training this week, and I think he's in line to start, or certainly play a part in the game on Thursday. So if he's back in and they go with the two up top, and we all know that the two are pretty big guys, that they can hold their own physically, so it would be very interesting. I think it was a game I think positives for Rangers are definitely their wide areas deliveries. I think the Barishic's delivery and in at the box and Tavernier's like quality, as we already know about, is pretty good. We've seen that from the goals, they all came from from cross balls.
Well, the Tavernier thing's interesting because I thought again 3 assists last week, 2 at the weekend, but then if you watch back 2 Motherwell's goals, he just run off him.
We know that. We already know that about him. That's an aspect of his game he's always lacked, is defensively and marking at corners and
just
stuff
like a trade you need to make if you want him with him.
I don't think they play like that, Rangers, though, against Celtic the weekend.
Nah.
They went 3-5-2, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a different shape.
Goldson obviously played on the left. I don't think they go with that. I think it maybe shows you what Gerrard's potentially going to look to do. I don't think it was as much about how Motherwell lined up at the weekend, the reason he went for that. I think he's went and signed Borna Barisic because he intends on having him and Flanagan and Tavernier all in the starting team.
I think obviously maybe to get Lafferty and Morelos.
To get Lafferty and Morelos in too, but I think there's a couple of reasons why but I do think that at the weekend you'll see either Morelos or either Lafferty line up front. I can't see Gerrard in his first trip to Celtic Park, and we know how that's went for some managers on both sides in the past. I can't really see him going with a 3-5-2 formation. I think he'll go to what's served Rangers well for the majority of the early season, go for a 4-4 or a 4-5-1, try and pack the midfields, maybe take a little bit of the pressure off Katic and Goldson at centre half, and just look to try and get Celtic to break them down, which they've had a problem with. As I said, I think Celtic have had a real problem, and I know we're going to speak about the Celtic game. Seemed like that was the problem at the weekend again against Hamilton. Just had to eke out a win against Hamilton. Goal came for a set piece, didn't it? Knock around in the box and Boyata putting it in for a yard away or whatever it was. So I think that's what I'm going to be most interested in seeing with Gerrard at the weekend, is how he copes system wise, what he does to prepare for what's going to be his biggest test yet. And he passed it against Maribor, I thought, in the 2 legs against them. A little bit of a failure against Motherwell because that's been a tough venue over the last couple of seasons, but it's going to be really interesting to see what it does. Do you see them going 3-5-2?
I don't know, it's a tough one. I probably agree with you that they go back to the back 4, because before that I think it was up to the weekend they hadn't trailed under Gerrard. It was like 1,000 minutes they hadn't been behind. I think they'll go back to that, as you say. Just before we leave Motherwell and Rangers, I need to get both your take on Alan McGregor, his fall in inverted commas on Peter Hartley. Do you think he meant it?
I don't.
You don't think he meant it? No.
Do you?
I think he meant it.
I've got to go on it. I think he knew what he was doing. The
angle from behind the goals, it looks like it's just the way he fell. It just almost looks quite deliberate. I mean, I can see if it's been Hartley's been on the floor, and you can probably, he said his comments during the week, then he's probably thought, well,
I definitely deserved it, but
like, I'm going to leave one on you.
Wouldn't put it by McGregor to just leave one on Hartley, given it what happened before the game. But I don't know. Couldn't really make my mind up. I suppose maybe that's the better answer.
He's not any previews for it like that, McGregor, right now. He's not really done any previews for doing something like that.
I just couldn't make my mind up. That was that. I could not make my mind up. It looked like maybe I had his feet taken from him just a little bit, but it is a kind of odd fall to the right.
It's just the way kind of fell to the right.
Right onto Hartley of all people.
And his knees come up and his elbows come up, so...
Yeah. Is there better footage than just the footage behind the goal?
Nah, I was trying to find it for the website, but I can't see it. No.
And that's the best. That's the stuff that there was potentially going to be compliance officer. Like,
I think it was naughty. There was nothing. I mean, I wouldn't say it'll come of it, but I think it was a bit naughty.
I suppose the biggest thing is I don't really care that much.
But
Same. And obviously, Hartley was always going to get that last minute goal, wasn't he?
He's running the stars.
Right, we mentioned Celtic. Probably best to move on to them then. The game itself against Hamilton, pretty low key, uneventful affair, except for Dedryck Boyata coming in out the cold. What did you make of the banner first of all before the game? I think it was. I mean, what did you think?
It splits opinions, Boyata, doesn't it? Like, I think my opinion is support whoever's got the shirt on. Obviously, there'll be a lot of guys that don't agree with that. He's kind of turned his back on us at an important point in the season. But where was his mind when he was obviously wanting out, and he's probably thinking, if I play in these European games, I'm cup tied for Champions League games. So he's thinking, if I play in these games, I can't play in the Champions League for whoever. Well, was it when there's another teams in for him as well? So that's a good. If it was film, then that doesn't really make any sense. But he must have not been in a place where he thought, I can contribute, or he felt maybe a wee bit awkward about getting into the team. But Virgil van Dijk done something like this. I'm pretty sure he wanted to go, and Celtic said, look, stay in our season, and then we'll sell you, and maybe extend your contract, and then we'll sell you. But he just played through it. But the Celtic fans were happy to accept him playing because he was quality, like extreme quality, and he was pretty much like doing us a favour almost. Whereas Boyata has been known to have a few mistakes, he's prone to a few errors, and all of a sudden, no, I'm too good for yous. It's almost like, but I can see both sides of it. If the Green Brigade was pretty much the Green Brigade into it, they put the banner up. If they feel that's what they want to come out and say, but it wasn't that bad a banner really, like not fit to wear this jersey. It wasn't like they weren't booing him for the full game, were they? It wasn't like it was just like relentless. If you're Boyata and you come out to warm up and you see that, imagine how you feel. You must just be like.
Well, was it? I don't think it would have been there when he was warming up. Well, I'm just going by previous banners. Is it not always?
I think it was
previous Green Brigade banners are always as the teams walk out.
I think it was up in the lineups when they learned how to do that TV handshake.
You would have seen it anyway, and I think you would have. I don't know, if you're him, you must just want to get out to swallow you up. Obviously, always a banker, he was going to score the winner as well.
Look, it didn't affect his performance. I thought it was brilliant. I watched the game, I thought it was excellent.
I see two sides of it, like Nield does as well, obviously. Or Michael does, apologies. On the one hand, I find it quite ironic that had Brendan Rodgers went and signed a centre-half of sufficient quality, because he doesn't seem to have done it kind of yet as Celtic manager, but if he'd managed to do it early in the summer, then I don't think there would have been any Celtic fans complaining if Boyata was on the bench.
Nope.
In fact, I don't think they'd been complaining at all about anything to do with Boyata. I think they would be glad that they had a new centre-half to go along with Ayer, who's definitely the preferred option. Someone more experienced, someone that isn't prone to errors the way that Boyata is. It's amazing how Rodgers doesn't go and get that centre-half. Celtic play in these Champions League qualifiers, and in hindsight now everyone looks at those qualifiers and thinks, oh man, imagine we had Boyata in the team. Do you know what I mean? Imagine we had Boyata in the team. I just don't really see how he is that important to Celtic after watching him in games, but then again, they have went back-to-back trebles, and Boyata has pretty much since October, November of the first season under Rodgers, he's been a mainstay pretty much ever since then. So obviously he is important to Rodgers, he is important to Celtic, and even though I don't really see it that much, he obviously does make the team better. From the Green Brigade's perspective, I think I can see why they've made such a big gesture, why they've come out of the banner and they've made such a big gesture to try and show Boyata that they're not happy with him. But I seen the point raised by someone on Twitter last couple of days about Celtic wishing George Cadetti a happy birthday, and I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I was born in 1990, so I would have been about 7, 8, 9 or something like that when Cadetti would have been on the scene. Similar ages when Pierre Van Hooijdonk was on the scene, Paolo Di Canio when he was on the scene at Celtic. All three still seem to be kind of revered by Celtic fans. All three still seem to be spoken about kind of positively, yet I think their situations come the end up at Celtic were pretty similar. Right. So on the same week that you've got Celtic fans coming out, or Green Brigade, coming out with such a controversial banner for a player that's still employed by the club, and I think likely to still stay, I think, to come out and do that, and then days later you see the club go and wish George Cadetti a happy birthday. I just thought it was quite ironic as well. Where I come in on all of it is just players' careers are short. Boyata doesn't have any sort of loyalty to Celtic, because Celtic fans don't really have that much loyalty to them. I remember we get sent a video, and I don't think we've ever spoke about this before, but we get sent a video to the talkingbaws Instagram page or whatever it was, and it was when Celtic went to Tenerife. When did they go to Tenerife?
Just when they won the league.
Did they go when they won the league? So when they won the Scottish Cup final, right. They went to Tenerife, and this video was sent on of them on, because I've been to Tenerife a couple of times, so I know exactly where it is, and I thought it was interesting to imagine being in Tenerife at that time and all the Celtic players are just buzzing around you, like delighted after winning the treble, and Boyata's there and he's just standing minding his own business pretty much, and this Celtic fan saying to him, there he is, bomb scared Boyata, bomb scared, I'll show you it. And we haven't ever done anything with it because I felt like at the time it's just harsh. It's just harsh, and I feel like that sort of sentiment towards Boyata has been consistent among Celtic fans for the last, or for as long as he's been at Celtic Park. So to now feel like he owes Celtic some sort of loyalty, I think's maybe just a little bit too much. And he's just looking at it for the brilliant World Cup. A team's bid 9 million for him. There's you'd imagine Fulham would bid for him, but there's probably interest. I'd imagine players and agents probably hear interest from all over the place, whether that actually gets to a final bid or not. But he obviously knows he's in demand, and I just think he's got a chance to really change his. It's a different debate to Kieran Tierney, I think. Boyata has a chance to change his life, and I don't really see how Celtic fans can be so critical of him, considering he's not even left. You know what I mean?
I agree that I totally agree in the sense that if he wants to go and sign for Seville or Lazio or whoever, like fair dues, that as you say, he's not a Celtic man, and I would let him go, especially, what was it, 9 million they were talking about? I mean, you carry him on your back for 9 million. But the thing, I think that the way Celtic fans feel let down is that, I mean, what is he getting paid, 10-15 grand a week?
Yep.
And he just refused to do his job, essentially, and that's the. I think every Celtic fan would go, look, they wouldn't stop him bettering himself, but when you turn your back on your team, I have to say I wouldn't have picked him again. I would have left him out. But obviously, sorry, this is the other thing I meant to bring up. I don't think we've heard the whole story, because when obviously he scored the goal, Gordon ran the line to the pitch, and he was swamped by the Celtic players, and it just made me think, maybe there is another side to this story. Maybe Boyata has been promised stuff and it's not been.
Well, that's apparently has been promised stuff. Apparently the promises were broken, and that's when his agent was turning up at the training ground and stuff like that.
And I wonder who the promises are being broken by, because I still think there's question marks over the way that Rodgers has handled the whole situation. I think it's a real break from character from him to publicly hang a player out to dry the way
it was strange.
Hung Boyata to dry, because really, I know the agent spoke and said some stuff that he shouldn't have said, but not at any point has Boyata publicly spoke, except from an Instagram post where he said that he was injured. If Celtic had went with that Boyata line, he's injured, he's got a back problem, no one would have complained. Absolutely no one would have complained. Fair enough if in private Boyata's mind wasn't right, you know what I mean? But I just think it's odd, particularly for a manager like Rodgers, who is so the loyalty he has to players kind of borders on ridiculous, I think, at times. And you even see it with like Boyata in the past, playing him when it looked like so easy to go and drop him. Lustig, playing Forrest constantly when he was going through bad times. Sinclair, even to a point. There's probably been other players there. Craig Gordon, he stuck by him. He's never signed anyone to replace these guys. I think it's kind of odd that he just hung Boyata out to dry, and I would love to know, for a manager that's also so I think Rodgers thinks a lot about what he says in the press. I think he says a lot about what he does in public, or he thinks a lot about what he does in public. I'd love to know what his reason was for hanging Boyata out to dry like that, because there's obviously something else behind it.
Has he put pressure on the board to say, look, we need a centre half, basically?
Well, look, how many days left of the window?
It's Wednesday, it's Friday, isn't it?
Friday, and Celtic haven't got even. Look, it doesn't even look like they've got a sniff of another player. Rangers are looking at signing another player for Osijek. That will take them 13 for the season, for the summer, I think it is. Celtic have got Lewis Morgan, who you can't even really count because he got signed last January, didn't he?
Bain as well.
Edward. But this summer anyway, Edward and Arzani, and that is it.
He's a Geary coming back.
I wouldn't even count. But this is the thing. I wouldn't count Easy
Nah,
just because they need to put their hands in their pockets for guys. They've obviously paid a little bit of money along with a loan deal for Arzani, but and obviously paid what's meant to be a club record fee for Edouard. But where are the rest of the signings? Just 2 days left of the window, and there doesn't even look like a sniff of any reinforcements in. It must be so frustrating for Celtic fans.
Just to counter the Boyata thing a wee bit when you were talking about I thought, see if Celtic had took their chances against AEK Athens, at home especially, and they went away from home and never conceded those 2 sloppy goals, we wouldn't even be talking about Boyata. Celtic would be playing tonight in the Champions League playoff and nobody would be talking about Boyata because we'd be already there, we'd done our jobs properly. See if they'd just done their jobs properly and did take their chances at Celtic Park and put a better performance up away from home in AEK, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
You raise actually kind of a point I was going to bring up, is that okay, we've talked about Celtic's defence, sort of mini crisis or whatever, but see going forward, kind of a wee bit.
Well, that's
lacking
my argument to
ideas,
this. Like we're conceding sloppy goals, but they aren't. They look totally out of ideas going forward.
Because I saw a bit of the game at the weekend as well, and I was watching it, and I was just thinking, there's just no real. Obviously, they got the winner through a set piece. I couldn't see them cutting Hamilton open.
Well, that's if you watch Celtic games at home last season, 90% of them were the exact same. Teams are just setting up with a 5-4-1, and they're leaving their striker up top, and then just sitting in a low block. And Celtic just cannot break them down for love nor money.
Totally different beast under with Edouard in the team, though. I think Celtic.
100%.
And then Rodgers did say it last week that. They've been hampered by the fact that Edouard took the injury.
Did you see any of the pre-season games?
It was all 3-5-2, wasn't it?
It was all that shape, and it was Edouard and Dembele. I think the Rennes game at home, they absolutely desolated them. They just opened them up time after time. It was 4-1 at finished in the end. They obviously changed it to full team at half time, but the first half of that game, they absolutely ripped them apart. And I thought, if this is the way we're going to play this season, it's going to be really dynamic. And even the spaces that Edouard was opening up for like Callum McGregor breaking through from midfield and stuff like that, it was looking really exciting. And then the minute that Dembele got injured in the first qualifier, and then we had to go back to the kind of, I think we changed it. I think we started off a 3-5-2 against Rosenborg.
Because Griffiths was injured at that point as well, wasn't he?
We started off a 3-5-2, and I think maybe Rogic or McGregor played as Forrest that played as the second striker, which was not working.
Aye.
And then we changed it once we went 1-0 down, back to the kind of 4-2-3-1, and we obviously won the game in the end. Was it 3-1, I think?
Aye.
But definitely with Edouard being injured, as well as Dembele being injured at different times, I think now if we see on Thursday night this shape, the 3-5-2, and see what it does, it might be interesting for the weekend. I
completely forgot they were playing Thursday night. Obviously for both teams, Rangers as well. Massive games on Thursday. It's
really important that we both get through.
We will talk a little bit later on about the game on Sunday and how we think both teams will line up. But just to finish in Celtic, you mentioned it, Johnny, about the transfer window. Do you think they will sign anyone before Friday? Is it Friday's deadline? Friday?
I think it's Friday midnight.
Friday midnight?
Nope.
Don't think so?
Nah.
That is pretty mental, really.
It's just been Celtic over the last couple of seasons. Like, they've not really done much business late in the window, I don't think. Like, if they haven't done it by now, then honestly, I just don't see how Celtic are going to make it work. Like, it's been abundantly obvious that Celtic have needed reinforcement for months. And when was the game against AEK Athens now? 2 weeks ago tonight, something like that. Yeah, 2 weeks ago tonight. 2 weeks ago tomorrow night or something. Yeah, Celtic have signed one player in that time. Like, again, counting Izagiri, they've signed 2 players, but they've signed no one really of note. Arzani's still an unknown quantity that's never played in European football before. Izagiri's someone that will hardly kick a ball for Celtic unless Kieran Tierney takes a big injury. You know, the problem areas that were clear once the Scottish Cup final whistle went still haven't been addressed for Celtic. They've still not bringing a new centre half. They've probably still not bringing someone to maybe compete with the wingers, you know, maybe someone else of quality, I think, to maybe come in from the wings. And they've not brought in a centre midfielder, which you'd imagine Rodgers was definitely wanting, considering it was public knowledge that they wanted John McGinn. And I think it's as if they've had one or a couple of names on a list, or one name on a list per position, and if they haven't managed to get their first target, then they've just been scrambling about in the dark. Because the bids for like McKenna last week, we spoke about it in the podcast, just smacked a kind of desperation. Some of the other names that have been linked have smacked a desperation, and I think that's worrying for Celtic fans going forward. You know, what is Lee Congleton doing? Do they have any sort of clear approach to recruitment? Because I think this summer's been a wee bit of a shambles from a Celtic point of view.
Can they attract the quality that they want?
Well, look, if Rangers can go and sign 13 players,
But I mean,
and there's some of those players that Rangers have signed that I think are quality. I think they're quality, and I like. People will say, "Oh, what's Kyle Lafferty?" I think Kyle Lafferty will be a brilliant signing for Rangers. A brilliant signing. The fact that he's got 2 goals in 1 and a bit games now, he'll easily get 15 to 20 goals for Rangers this season to go along with Morelos, who was getting that number last season. You know, I know Celtic weren't in the market for a striker. They weren't in the market for someone like Kyle Lafferty, but you would just like a wee bit more creativity with Celtic when it comes to their transfers. It just seems as if they're not contracted to Man City in some way, you know what I mean? Then it's really kind of random who they go for. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's weird.
On that, I should say that the one player they have been linked with is Douglas Luiz at Man City, who's apparently meant to be really good, but again, as you say, a loanee Man City, it's getting a bit tiresome. Yep. Do you think they'll sign anyone, Nield?
I mean, it's more speaking out of hope.
I know. I'm asking you like you've got an insight. We don't know, obviously.
You see the names linked. Douglas Luiz is one that I think he played. Was it Girona last season on loan?
Aye.
I think he played a handful of games. I think he played against Barcelona in a game and he looked really impressive.
And I think if you read Pep Guardiola's comments on him, he was trying to get him into City this season, but his work permit was refused. And he was quite effusive in his praise. He was saying that I can't believe they've rejected this.
He was going to be in the 25-man squad.
He's going to be a big star and all that. So
he does look a player. I mean, he looks quite strong. He does look like an ideal replacement for Stuart Armstrong. More technical than Stuart Armstrong.
Armstrong again. You know, no replacement.
I know that's what I was thinking. That's the person they're looking to replace with John McGinn. Obviously, like.
Yeah.
They're linked to, I think, is it Leicester, defender
Benkovic.
from Leicester, Bekovic, on
loan.
loan.
Signed with them in
I know, so it's another strange one. He's untested again.
I don't see that
British football.
When I saw that story, like, fair enough, there might be something to it, but
is it Bruma as
just
well?
Seems ridiculous. We spoke Bruma last week.
It's just like you see all these names and you think, is anything going to happen? Like, but he's saying it was only on Saturday. He was saying Sunday after the game that he wants to bring in 3/4 new players.
I think that was to the board. I think I want 4 new players in a week. It was never going to happen. Do you know what I mean? I think he was just saying that to the board.
Well, like Johnny said, when was the last time Celtic done any serious business on transfer deadline day? The only variable that's changed is the English market's not. They can't sign anyone on deadline day. So
Robbie Keane was the last one I can remember.
Well, did they not sign Patrick Roberts quite late in the deadline?
I think he was
quite late in the summer.
He was on that. I think he was on the transfer deadline day.
I do remember did they not sign John Guidetti on a transfer deadline day, and he seemed to be a decent signing as well.
Like Stefan Skepovic and stuff.
I know.
It's all been kind of loan signings. It's all kind of loan signings and like almost like you said, signings that smack of desperation.
Just quickly, who would you rate worse? Right, Stefan Skepovic or Morten Rasmussen as Celtic strikers?
Easy one for me. Skepovic. Rasmussen, every time he played, scored. He just was like the greatest footballer.
I think Skepovic didn't want to come in the first place. I think he was almost like he'd agreed to go somewhere else and then he just changed his mind and came to Celtic in the end.
See, there's someone else I'm thinking about that Celtic have signed, like a big kind of
they're not saying Miku in the
hard man striker like that, or not hard man striker, but big kind of cumbersome striker like Rasmussen. Well, Amido Balde, like, have you noticed this Amido Balde Josh Windass stuff going about? It's no Balde.
I didn't think it was either.
No, for anyone listening to this who's seen that,
that's the thing. I know everyone believes it.
There's a few.
You know who believes it above anyone else? Josh Windass. You don't see him responding. He responded to him. It was as if this was actually Amido Balde. Maybe it was just because the guy whoever's running that Amido Balde account got so many.
I don't think Balde even speaks English for what I remember. Like,
funny, I looked through his timeline. All he talks about is Celtic. And I doubt that's what
Amido Balde's talking
gives a shit about anymore. You know, he probably like rather not remember Celtic, to be honest with you.
So did Amido Balde not say that his wages from Celtic were kind of keeping him going, like he had to get an operation and all that, and he was like wasn't getting paid? He
said he was destitute and stuff.
Maybe that's why he does tweet.
True. Right, we need to take a quick break soon, but before we do, quick little run through some of the other games. St Mirren getting pumped at home off Livingston. Alan Stubbs under a lot of pressure. If you have a look on social media, my went blank there.
I think you spend all your day on every day.
I know. He was getting absolute pelters at the weekend, leaving Cammy Smith out, and I think a lot of St Mirren fans kind of a bit bewildered, and I heard a few St Mirren fans annoyed that he just apparently just never acknowledges the fans. So he, only 3 games in, league games, and he's under a bit of pressure. Elsewhere, Hibs and Aberdeen, good draw. Another big win for Hearts. Our man Uche Ikpeatsu getting the winner at Kelly. I know we probably should say good luck, get well soon to Craig Levein.
Uche Icky Pizu apparently.
Is that how you say it?
Well, I was listening to Sports Sound last week and Rob McLean was saying he got word from close to Icky Pizu and that's how you say his name, and they were like, no chance, absolutely no chance. The rest of the guys, I pronounce it as Piatsu, but I'm up for Icky Pizu now.
If Rob says it, it's gospel.
Right, okay, so let's go for Icky Pizu if Rob said it. Stubbs thing quickly. I must have tuned into some of the similar kind of things to you at the weekend. Some of the St Mirren fan pages on Twitter in particular really critical of Stubbs. The Cammy Smith stuff as well, someone that I think that St Mirren fans are really big fans of, but apparently Stubbs has been told him he can move on, or he's told him, sorry, that he can move on. Kind of bizarre. You do kind of worry about him, but you'd like to think he's going to get a season regardless. He's going to get an opportunity to keep St Mirren in that league, I reckon. Some result for Gary Holt. On the flip side of it, you know, I heard him speaking afterwards as well, and he says he'll take the praise when it comes. Don't really know how much of that win was down to him or not, but they seem to have maybe reverted back to what made them really difficult to beat in the Championship last season. And it's amazing how things can change. You know, St Mirren ran away pretty much with the Championship last season under Jack Ross, and against Livingston, I know they struggled from time to time, but St Mirren fans they probably went into this season thinking we've definitely got a right good chance to finish above Livingston. Not so sure now based on that game at the weekend.
They lost Lewis Morgan as well, didn't they? Their talisman, so...
Lost Lewis Morgan. They have signed a couple of players, I suppose, but nah, maybe it's bigger than just Stubbs. It's more about the fact that they've lost Morgan, they've lost Jack Ross as well. And then the Aberdeen Hearts game, I think Lennon will be pretty disappointed with that, to be honest with you. I don't know what you think.
Well, Willie Collum obviously played a starring role, and he'll be in the Old Firm game at the weekend. Yeah. Apparently denying a Stonewall penalty. Paul Hanlon apparently, we think it was Gary Mackay-Steven.
I'm pretty certain it was.
Aye, in the very last minute. McInnes, if you heard his audio, was bailing. I kind of hard to distinguish between those two teams, you know, at the minute in terms of quality. What I feel like we've missed a fixture, have we not?
St Johnstone.
Good shout. Good shout. That's why you're here, Neil. Tony Watt. 6 goals for the season now, and I saw him on Twitter. Kind of people tweeting him saying, "Oh, well done on your 4th goal, well done on your 5th goal." He's been like, 6 goals, lads. Let's get it right. He's been brilliant, and when we saw the Scotland squad obviously released this week, was he a wee bit unlucky not to be in it, or was that a bit too soon?
A wee bit too soon, but like you're saying, I think Tony Watt's he's definitely got talent. I do really like Tony Watt. I think he's been a bit unlucky with decisions he's made in the early part of his career, but. What did you say, 24?
Aye, 23, 24.
Still really young.
Still got it all in front of him.
And he's got all the attributes to be a really top centre forward. I think he's strong, he's quick, he's a great finisher, as he's demonstrated at the highest level in European football. So, I really do hope that Tony get knuckles down under Tommy Wright
and Dundee edge towards the relegation. I've been tipping them for 3 years.
Right, they're seriously struggling. Dundee.
They are really struggling.
I mean, they lost in the cup last week as well. Was it the Martin?
Ayr. Lawrence Shanklin put it out.
Apparently, it wasn't even close.
Nah, I know it's 3-0. Aye, at Dens Park.
Lewis Morgan. I knew it was the Gary Mackay-Steven, even though I'd said it earlier on. It's not Lewis Morgan. It was Lewis Ferguson. Take that back.
There you go.
It was bugging me that you'd said I think it's Gary Mackay-Steven, and I thought it was Gary Mackay-Steven. I know there's Aberdeen fans probably listening to this going, it's bloody Lewis Ferguson, man.
I think Hibs and Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen have recovered after the Rangers game, the first game of the season, but they looked pretty shocking, to be honest. I think they came off the back of the Burnley game and they looked a wee bit like leggy in the Rangers game, but I think they've definitely picked up, and Hibs are looking really good. I think.
Are we gonna go to the break?
Aye.
Just quickly, I'm gonna throw a wee question in there. Who do you think's the best window? Because it's going to finish by the time. Well, we won't do a podcast before the window closes. So, currently, in your mind, who's had the best window?
In the whole league?
Nah, between one team. Who do you think?
Hearts.
Aye, why?
I just think they brought in a lot of players, but there's 3 or 4 when I watched them that have looked really good. Icky
Pizu
is a standout, I think. Ben Garuccio looks really good. They've re-signed Dimitri Mitchell from Man U, who I thought was brilliant last season, and they've also found what looks like a really good goalkeeper in Slalom. Is that how you say it? I think they've really recruited really well. I'm going
to say Hibs actually. Do you think they've lost? I mean, they've lost the core of the midfield from last season. Scott Allen, Dylan McGeoch and John McGinn, and they've replaced them with pretty good quality as well, and they're looking quite good up front, re-signing I forgot his name,
McLaren, Canberry.
So
also added Horgan. I'm a big, this is his 3rd podcast mention in a row.
So
you just hold up for the Ireland squad. That's a good call. That's a good
but
bit of business.
I think Hibs have recruited really well. I mean, you think of the teams. Hearts have recruited well. Hibs have recruited well. Aberdeen are looking pretty strong. Rangers have obviously recruited really well as well. Interesting season ahead.
I'm going to go bold and say Neil McCann at Dundee. Nah, I'm looking. As you can see, cause eyes here. I'm actually going to go for one out of all, probably the top 6 teams, or who you would consider as the top 6 teams. St Johnstone. You've already spoke about Tony Watt. 6 goals already. You would back him definitely get close to 20, I reckon, on that form. Went and signed Matty Kennedy for Everton. Young boy. He's had a couple of loans out in England. Former Scotland Youth International. Any of the games I've seen, highlights I've seen of St Johnstone this season, he looks like the kind of main man in and around Watt, and they two could be pretty frightening against most of the teams in the league. It was a down season for St Johnstone last season, and Tommy Wright would have been pretty disappointed about it. Pretty much throughout his whole time at McDermott Park, he's managed to make that club overachieve. And after a down season, I reckon now he's fancying himself to really pick it back up and get them back to where they once were. And then today they went and signed a guy called Tristan Nydam, who plays at Ipswich. I already knew a little bit about him, and I'm not going to lie, Football Manager. He was in one of my Football Manager teams, and he was absolutely dynamite, right? But after seeing his name, for some reason, he just, when you have signed somebody in Football Manager, you seem to notice everything they do afterwards. Or maybe the name just sticks at you or whatever. But anything I've ever seen of him whenever he's played for Ipswich, whenever anybody spoke about him, and then the biggest thing whenever the fans have spoken about him is that they actually kind of want him in the team now, apparently, the Ipswich fans. And St Johnstone managed to get him on loan. I'm going to go with St Johnstone being I reckon they'll get top 6 this season and potentially maybe get a wee run in the cups with those 3. Bold.
Interesting. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll look ahead to this weekend's big showdown at Celtic Park.
TheTBShop.com for the best mugs, phone cases, t-shirts and prints in Scottish football. TheTBShop.com.
Welcome back to the Talking Baws podcast, brought to you by Ladbrokes. Before we move on to Celtic v Rangers at the weekend, quick mention for Alex McLeish's Scotland squad for the friendly against Belgium and the League of Nations. I always think that sounds like a superhero film or something. The League of Nations fixture against Albania. Is Albania in it?
Yep.
One of the big names left out, I thought was a bit harsh, was Ryan Jack.
Yep.
A lot of Rangers fans. He had a really good start to the season. John Souttar gets a call up. So does Jack Henry. I really feel bad for Jack Henry because I feel like he's been thrown it in the deep end and he's a wee bit out of his depth. So I don't want to slag him in it, but I just don't think he deserves a call up. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? On current form, is that fair?
On current form, probably not. He had played in the last couple of international friendlies. He looked alright, so quite steady. I think Jack Henry has definitely got potential to be a really good centre half. He's quick, strong, good
big
in the
boy.
air. He's decent with the ball. I think he's lacking confidence. I think he's probably lacking a bit of confidence. He's been thrown into the deep end, like you said, against in the Champions League qualifiers. He made a couple of mistakes and he's been punished, and that would then end his confidence, especially coming from Dundee last season to signing for Celtic and then having to make that step up and playing international football at the same time. I
heard a rumour from a decent source as well that we might have seen the last of James MacArthur in a Scotland shirt. He's obviously pulled out now because he's got a bad back, and apparently his back's been playing up for a while. Alex McLeish said yesterday he's not retired, but he's really struggling at the minute, and kind of heard on the grapevine that he kind of needs all the rest he can get in between Crystal Palace games, so that's a bit of a blow. But
I watched Crystal Palace play against Liverpool last week, and even though Liverpool beat them, I thought MacArthur played quite well, and I thought Crystal Palace looked pretty decent as well. And I can't remember exactly what the stat was, but I think MacArthur has been a mainstay under Hodgson, and at what age is he kind of in his I think he'll be in his 30s now, isn't he? He's probably thinking I want to try and get as many Premier League years out of my body as I possibly can, and if he's struggling with a back problem, then you could totally understand him deciding to call it time on his Scotland career, hand reins over to some other midfielders, namely John McGinn, Stuart Armstrong, and maybe play another 2 or 3 years in the Premier League because he'll be on good money down there, and it will set him up for the rest of his life. So I can understand if he wasn't sticking around with Scotland. To the Jack Hendry thing, you said he's lacking a bit of confidence. I'd say maybe the bigger problem is lacking a bit of pace, which I thought was surprising considering at Dundee he looked kind of big, strong and powerful. He looked like he had everything to be a good centre half, At Celtic, it looks like he's got absolutely zero pace, and he actually looks a little bit soft sometimes, I've thought. But I think that maybe more goes down to the fact that when teams playing against Celtic, they throw absolutely everything at them. You know, they always go with one striker. The majority of the time it seems to be a powerful striker. And with somebody like Hendry, though, I'd imagine managers just now are going, right, this is the weak point in the Celtic defence and this is who we focus on. I think he could do a little bit of time out of the team so that he can just get his confidence back.
Build himself up a
little bit. Just get used to playing with Celtic, because you remember he's not even been a year at Celtic yet. But the most alarming thing for me is pace, and I just kind of wonder, does he have enough pace to be a quality centre half for Celtic and for Scotland? Rodgers, when he signed him, actually said that he had great pace. Can't remember the exact
quote. I thought he looked quick as well. I thought he looked pretty quick. But
I think he's looked slow. I thought he looked.
Is it his reactions maybe?
I thought Icky Pizzo breezed by him at Tynecastle to set up the Laffer to go. You know, I thought he breezed by him. I know Icky Pizzo seems to be breezing by everybody in the Scottish Premiership.
His body shape was a bit. He wouldn't really square to him. That
I know he was kind of just felt like recovery pace, like that little bit of acceleration on the turn. I think for a centre half so important, and definitely. I don't really know if Hendry's got it. I'd say the reason why he's in the Scotland team is because he showed up well in McLeish's first couple of games in charge, and sometimes I do think you need to marry up former players with who's done the manager well in the past. And even though I don't want McLeish to rely on that solely like Stratton seemed to do sometimes, I would like to see him kind of keep a little bit of loyalty with the guys that he's brought in before and who have maybe done him well, who deserve to continue to keep their place. By all means, if he goes back to Celtic, doesn't play at all, or he plays and he's even worse, then I can understand maybe McLeish ignoring him in the future. But when you see a couple of other centre halves that are left out, Suter, who seems like 6 seasons, I know it's Saturday, 6 seasons, Suter's been a first team player at Dundee United and then Hearts, and this is his first call up. It takes Levine saying that he's got Australian grandparents to get McLeish to move his arse on it.
That is strange.
But the Hendry one's interesting. Don't really know if he'll play much when Scotland do get these 2 games, but I'm looking forward to seeing that Scotland squad get together, because on the main, it's exciting. Another one, Snodgrass, who's obviously missed out as well.
It's never ever going to happen, but I would love to see Alex McLeish go with Griffiths and McBurney up front. He never plays 2 strikers. It'll probably be Matt Phillips as a lone striker again.
He's not in the squad.
Oh, is he not in the squad?
He's in the squad.
There you go, just the way you're here. But I'd love to see the 2 of them go up front. He'll never do it. Maybe a 3-5-2 like we talked about with Celtic, because I know Griffiths hasn't quite got up and running yet, but we know what he can do, and McBurney's flying in the Championship.
If you watched him for Swansea, absolutely flying. Maybe that's going to be his level. You know, maybe it is going to be his level. He banged him in for Barnsley last season on loan in the Championship. Didn't ever really seem to show the same quality when he get those fleeting appearances for Swansea in the Premier League. But now, you know, under Graham Potter, man, Billy Reid must be loving him. Swansea assistant manager as well. He looks like someone who, I think if he could just fill out a little bit, looks like he could be a proper centre forward for Scotland, by the way. And that could be a pretty devastating front too as well.
That's what they need. We need somebody that can put the ball in the back in it.
Right, move on then. We've talked around it for long enough today. Celtic and Rangers, 12 noon on Sunday, Parkhead. Okay, we've obviously mentioned what we think the team's going to be. We think Rangers, obviously, Jonny mentioned 4-5-1. What about Celtic? Do you think Celtic will stick with the 3 at the back they had against Hamilton? Will Boyata play? Who will be the strikers? Nield, you're maybe better placed to start on this.
I think it'll be this pretty much the team that started at the weekend. I don't see them deviating from that too much. The only thing I think will happen is Edouard will come in for Griffiths. I think they'll go Edouard up top. I think McGregor is pretty much he's like one of the first names in the team sheet, I think, under Rodgers. I don't think he'll drop out. I can't see him dropping out for Rogic. I think it'll pretty much be the same team that started.
So Rogic was on the bench at the weekend?
Aye, he started on the bench.
I do think
did he? I'm trying to think. Maybe he didn't actually.
The midfield would have been in Cham, Brown.
I think he did start.
I think he did.
Aye.
Yep.
Did he start? Sorry.
Can see we're well prepared.
Don't worry. Look, the phone's here. I'll find it out for us.
We
kind of bringing Nield on. You kind of thought he would know at least at the last second.
Did Rogic miss? I think he missed it in the European game. I think he didn't start the European game.
I was going to say, if he does leave Rogic out, I remember this quote from Rodgers last season that I did start. That he says that he likes to have weapons off the bench. So I think it's a reasonable point. If you kind of start all your best players, then if it's not going well, you turn and look round at Calvin Miller. You're a wee bit like, oh, what's going on?
Well, and Jam was that weapon off the bench at the weekend, but I would be shocked if Jam didn't line up and centre mid against him. I think a lot for me, that Celtic team, a lot depends on Thursday night and how smooth that is. You know, I do think he'll go a little bit stronger than the team that played away at Suduva. Just to get the job done. I think Celtic do not need any more 1-0 wins. They don't need any more like just bang average performances. They don't need to eke any more results out. I think you play against Suduva, if you play with your strongest team, give hope that you can give them an hour to batter Suduva, take 3-4 goals off them, and then for the last half hour you can get some of the key guys off the pitch. Subs probably for me would be like Dembele, get him off, get Tierney off, get Brown off. You know, they would be the kind of main three for me. I think most important players, that if they're in the Celtic team to play against Rangers on Sunday, then you would give Celtic a lot better chance than if they were struggling with injuries or they were ruled out completely. I think it's going to depend on what Rodgers does on Thursday night, but come the game on Sunday, I'd be amazed if he doesn't start Rogic, because he's been, I think he's relied pretty heavily on Rogic in big games over the last year in particular.
So he'd drop out
games against Rangers as well. I don't know if he'll play a 2. I don't think Edouard will come in. I think he's been missing too long to go right back into an important game. And I think, just from memory, I could do with some stats to back this up, but I definitely don't have them. But from memory, I don't think Rodgers has really been quick throughout his tenure as Celtic manager. I don't think he's been quick to bring guys back into the team that have been missing for maybe more than 3 weeks. You know, I think it's a big decision to. When did Edouard last play? Where did they pick the injury up against AEK Athens? Was that the last game that he played against? The second leg against them?
He didn't play the away leg.
That was the first leg.
So the first leg. So it's probably bordering like.
But he could play on Thursday and then play on Saturday.
No, I don't think he'll start against Suduva as well. And I still think even if he was to get kind of 20 minutes off the bench against Suduva, I honestly still couldn't see him lining up with Edouard at the weekend. I think if he does go with 2 up front, it's going to be Griffiths and Dembele. And even at that, I'm not sure whether he'll go with 2 up front as well. I think he might just go with Dembele and look to get maybe Sinclair in the starting 11, or maybe play with McGregor from out wide.
I think you'll go with McGregor out wide then, if you're talking
and then
about
have Rogic in the hole.
Because I think McGregor played against Rangers last season out wide, and I thought he gave Tavernier a harder game than Sinclair's been giving him.
This thing, there's always there's a couple of these players in the Celtic team that have kind of been the bane of Rangers' life over the last couple of seasons. You remember Rangers took the lead with Windass, didn't they, in the last game between the teams?
Twice,
and then Rogic produced a moment of genius to get them level, I think I'm right in saying. And it's those little moments of genius that Celtic and Rangers, they need that from kind of key players. And I think someone like Rogic, someone like McGregor, given his form against Rangers as well, I think it's too important to leave them on the bench.
I think Rogic has been slow this season. I think he started really slow. He's not looked sharp at all, to be honest. He's played a couple of good games here and there, but he's
World
not
Cup hangover.
Wee bit, I think. I mean, he has took a bit of praise as well. Like I think his first half performance at the weekend was decent, but he keeps shooting. I've noticed he keeps taking shots from 20-25 yards when he could maybe pass. But again, there's nothing wrong with having a shot, because that's all Celtic seem to be doing now, is passing from side to side. But interesting. I think this is the game that will kickstart Celtic season. The big atmosphere. Obviously, the Rangers coming to town under Gerrard. There's going to be a lot more pressure on Celtic, I think, getting into this game.
I think it's worth noting as well that for all the kind of hype around Rangers and how well they've done, if Celtic win, they're 4 points clear already after 4 games. That's pretty big gap so early in the season. I'm going to have to nail you both down on a prediction.
If you've got one first, I'll let you have a think about it. Man, I suppose if you need to nail me down to one, I'm going to go for Celtic to win it narrowly. I actually think some of Celtic's performances against Rangers, some of their best performances have actually came at Ibrox or at Hampden under Brendan Rodgers' tenure. Graham Murray in particular, for all his criticisms, seemed to get the better at Rangers at Celtic Park.
He went twice and got 2 draws. And I reckon those will be the games that Gerrard will potentially be. That'll be the film that Gerrard will be looking at to go, right, what did we do in those games? Because Celtic team's pretty much the same. You know, this is also a negative from not having done any business in the summer window and hardly any in the last January window, is that Rangers pretty much kind of know who they're facing. You know, they played against, I don't think there'll be a player in the starting 11 or maybe off the bench for Celtic at the weekend that they've not played against before. You know, they'll be totally aware of what Celtic's shape's going to be. I think the bigger challenge is going to be for Rodgers to be able to try and predict who Rangers are going to play with, because I do think Gerrard's got a lot more options now
than what any previous Rangers manager has had going up against Brendan Rodgers. And I think this is the kind of game where Rodgers, like, maybe he's just going to go, who cares about Rangers? We're at home, we've got the better players, we've got the better team, it's up to them to adapt to us. But I think Celtic will potentially adapt to how Rangers play at the weekend, and I think it will be a real kind of right up to the last minute decision for Rodgers on who he goes with. But aye, if I had to be absolutely nailed down for a decision, 1-0, 2-1 to Celtic, I think.
Just going back to Rangers before we finish, I think we're in agreement it'll probably one striker. But who would you go with, Lafferty or Morelos?
So I think it will be one striker, just because it's a bold move for Gerrard in his first game against Celtic, particularly at Celtic Park, to go with 2 strikers up front. But I do think that, what Rangers have done against Celtic over the last 2-3 seasons, it's never ever really worked. It's never really worked to the point that Rangers fans want it to work, because ultimately Rangers fans want to win this game. They want to get this monkey off their back. They want to beat Celtic. And I do think that if they were to line up with Morelos and Lafferty up front at the weekend, I think that's a potentially scary prospect for Celtic's defenders, for Celtic's team as a whole. I think it'll be really interesting to see what Gerrard does, and I think it will potentially set the tone for the rest of his tenure as Rangers manager. If he was to go with a 3-5-2 at the weekend and stay loyal to a formation that I think he obviously prefers, given that he used it in a big game against Motherwell at the weekend, and given that his whole squad seems to have kind of came together now, what he needs a centre half. That's all that he kind of really needs left. But the fact that he's adding another centre half would probably make you think that he's going to look to maybe use all 3 of them at points this season. He's went and signed Lafferty, and I don't imagine Lafferty's signed or been signed with the idea that he's going to play on the bench a lot, or that Morelos is going to play on the bench a lot. I think Barisic as well being signed. These guys are all being signed because I think Gerrard wants them to be in the team, and I do think 3-5-2 is potentially going to be the formation that he deploys. So if I was a Rangers fan, I would be hoping that Lafferty and Morelos start up front at the weekend, because that's a much scarier prospect for the Celtic defenders who have struggled. But I don't see them doing it. I really do. Just see them either going with. And a bold shout, I think Lafferty will start up front by himself.
Interesting.
He's just, you'd bet against him scoring against Celtic. Bet against him.
Bet on him.
Bet on him. Sorry.
That's kind of written into it for Lafferty to score. Like,
it's in the stars.
His form against Celtic in the last 2 seasons has been pretty impressive as well.
Was he good at Tynecastle against them? I didn't watch it.
He scored a great finish.
Apart from scoring the winner, did he like?
I mean, it was a pretty much typical Celtic display this season.
Yeah.
Most of the ball, couldn't break hearts down, and it was obviously guts and thunder as you expected Tynecastle. But I mean, he played okay. Mm-hmm. He gets his goal, and that's kind of what he does against Celtic, doesn't he? I just think I really hope Rangers go for it. I really hope it's that open game. I hope it's like a classic, kind of more a classic Old Firm game that we've been used to over the years, as opposed to what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 seasons.
See, if you're Gerrard, I think if you say to your players, if we go for this, we will score. Mm-hmm. Like Celtic's defence is leaky, but then conversely, I think Rangers, for all the hype, all the kind of talking up they've had, I think they'll come down to earth if they're facing, say, Dembele and Griffiths. I think they'll realise.
Do they have the pace to hurt Celtic if they play? Say they try and play counter attack. Do they have the pace to hurt Celtic and behind? Can they go long and play direct?
I think Jamie Murphy's a massive miss.
Aye.
Yeah. I definitely think he's a massive miss. I said it when he signed last January. I think I said it when they made the move permanent over the podcast last couple of weeks, that had Murphy stayed fit, I think he actually just got confirmed to be out for the season last week, just before we started the podcast, didn't we? I think if Murphy had stayed fit, easily 10 to 15 goals from out wide for Rangers this season, I think. So it'll be interesting to see, like, maybe they go with Lafferty off the left, and they do manage to get him and Morelos into the team.
There's weird talk on social media, it's just probably purely rumours, but this Grezda that they're signing is going to start at the weekend, that Gerrard wants to throw him right in.
He's not played apparently this season.
Not played this season, but apparently that's part of the reason why.
I mean, you don't get thrown in an Old Firm game in your first game.
I know. Remember Willow Flood getting it done to him, but
well, we'll go on to him.
How did that go?
It didn't go well,
didn't it?
Aye. Right, so what's your prediction, Nield? Let's hear it.
I think Rangers are going to be pragmatic and sit in. I think they'll, like what Jonny said, they'll probably look back to last season when they got the results at Parkhead. They just sat in and defended and played like most teams play at Celtic Park, try and like just frustrate Celtic. If they do that, I think it'll be a tight affair. It could end up being a one each or a 1-0 Celtic. I think Celtic will have most of the ball. They'll dominate possession. It's just a case of can they actually break Rangers down. And if they go with Griffiths, if they go with Dembele and Edouard, which I think they will do eventually, I think they will go with Edouard up top, then I can see them winning. I think if it's Griffiths, I don't know, I just don't think they're as dynamic with Griffiths up top with Dembele. They don't seem to have a partnership. Any time you've seen them playing together, they don't seem to do anything.
It's never really happened either.
Nah, it happened at the weekend there. They did play at the weekend.
But even though like last 2 seasons, Dembele and Griffiths have both been in the team, you count in one hand the amount of times that Rodgers put the two of them together. But yet, I think now seems to think that Edouard's the one to.
Well, last season,
the Link Up play is good enough for Griffiths to go along with Dembele, which I think Edouard's.
I think his hold up play isn't anywhere near as high quality as Edouard's. But Edouard drops off and gets the ball deep, and once it gets turned, he's got that wee shimmy, and he can put the ball in. He can put it in the top corner from 20 yards out. You've seen him doing that. So I do feel if Celtic go with that two up top, it'll be too much for Rangers. I think it will be, but I can see it being a low scoring affair. But hopefully it's not. I really do hope Rangers go the 3-5-2.
You two are murdered. What's the score going to be?
I gave you one. 1-0 or 2-1.
I think it's going to be 1 each or 1-0 Celtic.
Copying me alright. What are you going to go for?
2 each. 2 each.
Man, if it's 2 each, it's going to be a cracker.
I know. I just think you can see goals. Goldson last week looked terrified against Motherwell. What's he going to be like at Parkhead? And Celtic's defence is. That's another variable you need to throw in. A lot of these guys, Rangers players, their first games at Celtic Park, first Old Firm game at Celtic Park in front of 60,000, hostile atmosphere. Obviously, there's not going to be that many Rangers fans in the stadium this time. It'll be mainly Celtic fans. And I think that really helps Celtic in this occasion, because see if this was at Ibrox, the way the momentum is went, I'd be backing Rangers to win. Really would.
This is why I think Thursday night's so important for, I suppose, for both teams as well. You know, the build up can really flip. It really can flip. Like, we can talk about it now, but if Thursday night comes and Rangers end up going out, if Ufa managed to, is it Ufa? Aye, sounds ridiculous, saying it. Ufa managed to knock them out of Europa League on Thursday night, and then Celtic go and give Saduva a 4 or 5-0 doing.
Everything changes.
Everything changes, I think.
And throw a massive signing in the mix on Friday night from Celtic.
Throw a massive signing in. Throw the fact that Rangers need to travel back to Russia. Throw in the fact that they're probably going to play all their main players. You know. It's a bit, right now, if you're a Rangers fan, you would kind of be worrying about how Thursday's going to go, but.
You're listening to the official Celtic podcast. No, I'm not kidding. It'll be an interesting week. I can't wait, personally.
They're the best weeks, aren't they?
Yeah. It's the first one in a long time, but that you actually, you've got that kind of like, this is going to be interesting, whereas it's just been Celtic are going to win this, or it's if Celtic show up they're going to win. It's an actual, what's Rangers going to do, like how they're going to shape up, how they're going to approach the game. If they do turn up and play well and Celtic don't play well, Rangers could easily shock Celtic. So it was really interesting.
There was times last season where we were probably building up to this game going, oh man, I just don't know if Jason Holt, Ross McCrory and Josh Windass are going to be able to match up to the Celtic midfield. I think it's very different now.
It is. I should say I'm actually going on holiday tonight, so if anyone knows somewhere in Bali to watch the game, hit me up on Twitter.
There's got to be a Bali Celtic or Rangers supporters club, surely.
God knows. I think that brings us to the end of today's Talking Baws podcast, brought to you by Ladbrokes. Johnny, thanks very much.
Thanks, Daniel.
And Michael Nield, it's always a pleasure. The pleasure is ours.
Thank you.
We'll get a better title for him next time.
We'll try. Cheers, thanks for listening.
Keep banging on, banging